Alright folks, so today we're going to talk about backyard chickens, and we're going to go over my chicken coop and how I built it, and some of the reasons you might or might not want backyard chickens. The biggest reason I want backyard chickens is because I love to eat eggs. I've got good egg laying hens here, and we'll go over this, and maybe it'll help you decide whether you want backyard chickens or not. So y'all stay tuned. Alright guys, so the very first thing we're going to talk about is chickens. Depending on where you live is going to kind of be the deciding factor on what type of chickens you use. And also another deciding factor is, do you want meat birds or do you want egg laying birds? I like egg laying birds because I eat their eggs like crazy. So does my family. And that's basically what we have backyard chickens for. Now I have 5 black stars and 5 red stars, which are commonly known as 5 red sex links and 5 black sex link chickens. These are supreme egg laying chickens. The main thing you need to remember is just to keep them fed and keep them happy. And by keeping them fed, you will keep them happy. Don't change their routine up much. That's a big thing right now. If you change their routine up, it throws their it throws their egg production off. And what I mean by changing their routine, feed them at the same exact time every single day. Now we're going to move on from chickens, and we're going to go to feeding. All right, if you look on the right side, I've got one feeder over there on the left side, the little red one there, or the big red one. That's the water system. Regular tap water is what I put in there. I don't put any supplements in with my chickens. On the right side in the feeder, I use what's called layer pellets. And layer pellets, basically when they get to this age, which these are about 8 months old right now, they're real young chickens, real young hens. They help produce those eggs. So that's what you want to be feeding them. If you look up to the left, just above the water, I've got a tube feeder, and that right there basically is just in case you have, a boss hen in there kind of bossing and running the younger chickens around, or the chickens they don't like around, they can go over and eat out of that feeder. So I've got 2 separate feeders inside my coop. That helps with everything that, as far as bullying or anything like that goes on. And hens will bully each other. Now, I only have 10 hens. I do not have a rooster. Now, the reason I don't have a rooster is because I don't want the threat of a baby chicken in one of my eggs. So, if you're not going to have a rooster, you're never going to have a baby chicken inside a farm-raised egg. There you go. So if that happens, you might want to exploit that a little bit, because you'll have a money-making situation going on. So let's move on around. All right, guys. So my chicken coop is about a 50 square foot chicken coop. That includes the inside of the hen house. Now, the hen house section here, well, it used to be my daughter's old swing set fort. It was a pressure-treated swing set fort that I built for her years ago when she was real small. She's 17 years old now, and she don't need a swing set anymore. We actually built this about 4 or 5 years ago when she stopped using it. I was going to decide, hey, I was going to do something with it, reuse the lumber for something, and I came up with going ahead and building a big chicken coop out of it. This chicken coop is about 50 square feet, including the hen house. This section here was the actual old fort off of the swing set. This section here forward is what I added on to it, and basically it's just pressure treated lumber, and I stick built it and framed it up, put a roof on it. Now these panels here, there's 4 section panels right here that are pressure treated lumber with hardwire cloth screen on them. We did not use chicken wire, and I'll explain why later. So these actual panels right here, you can remove them, pull them out, change the wire on them. If something happens or gets damaged, you can put them right back on. And if you want to pull the whole sidewall clean out of this one, clean the coop out, put them all back on, you can do that too. Right here on the side, I've got 2 slide latches. All of the green handles that are on the coop you see were from the old playhouse. They were handles to help you walk up the ladders and hang on inside the playhouse. So you pull these 2 slide latches, you've got the hen house. All right, the hens go in here basically to lay eggs, and you've got the nesting box on the far right side, and that's where they go to lay their eggs, and I'll show you that in just a second. But this makes it easier for me to get in and out of the coop if I need to get in there and do something. If you get in there and climb up in it. It's not good. It's not easy for a 44-year-old man, but it's still doable. So, you know, not a big deal. Y'all stay tuned. All right, so right here's my nesting box. I've got a little latch on it, and I unlock that latch and I can get in here and pick eggs up without having to get in and bother the chickens at all. I'll show you a good close-up shot of this, and we'll go over what you do with the nesting box. So if you take a good look inside the nesting box, in here I have 3 nesting boxes. And yes, that isn't a golf ball. And there is another egg. Now, the purpose for the golf ball is these are young chickens, and they're going to get in here and they're going to lay eggs in the run. They'll lay eggs everywhere inside this coop except the chicken boxes or the nesting boxes if you don't teach them how to do it. Now this hen here, she's scratching right now to get a shot of her. She's trying to get away from me where I can't see her. But these eggs right here are actually ceramic eggs, and they have a little X on them right here. So that keeps me from picking it up and carrying it in the house by accident. So the main thing you need to remember about your nesting boxes is to keep the hay changed out. Make sure it stays dry, make sure it's nice and comfy and warm. They like to get in there and nest up and curl up and lay their eggs. They like a good warm spot to lay eggs in. So that's the big thing you need to remember about your nesting box. So girls, duck your head. I'm gonna shut the door. All right, guys, around on this side right here, I've got 2 more handles that came off the swing set, and these are basically used for clean out trays. If I need to clean the inside of the hen house out, I'll just pull these out, and it's got all the chicken manure, or actually there's shavings in here right now for them, so it's fairly clean, so I don't need to clean it now. But if I do, I just pull these out, dump them, slide them back in, I'm good to go. Might be something else you think about. If you're going to build one, you want to build it as easy to take care of as possible. And you know, these slides right here make it totally easy. I don't have to get in there and start sweeping and cleaning and scrubbing. I can just pull these out, carry them out to the woods and dump them, and put them in my compost pile, and I'm good to go. So think about that whenever you go to do it. All right, guys, so right here on the very front, I hand built this door out of 2x2 pressure treated, and we're going to talk about the screens. The screens on the front. This is not chicken wire. I don't like chicken wire. You got to think about predators. We live off out in the woods, and we've got anything from possums, foxes, raccoons, coyotes, any predator you can think of is running around out in these woods, and they're looking to get in here and eat your chickens. It's an easy meal for them. It's a really good meal for them. So they're looking to get in this coop. 2 things I got going for me. I use this 1/2-inch galvanized hardware cloth, and it makes it hard for any kind of animal to reach in here and grab a hold of a chicken. If you've got regular chicken wire on your chicken coop, a raccoon can reach in there, grab a hold of a chicken while they're roosting on the pole, and pull half of them through that chicken wire. And if you don't think they will, trust me, I've seen it happen. So go with 1/2-inch hardware cloth. It's a little more expensive, but in the long run, it's going to save you time, money, and aggravation as far as predators go. Another thing I got going for me is I've got about a 65-pound big boxer pit bulldog running around out here in the yard, and he keeps all my predators ran away. Anytime he's actually killed some that have tried to come in here and grab our chickens out and haul them off into the woods and eat them for lunch. So he's caught them before they even got close and took care of the problem. But that's one thing you need to think about. All right, guys, so we're going to kind of talk about chicken health a little bit, so you kind of know how if your chickens are feeling fine, feeling healthy, getting fed, and, you know, getting everything they need. If you'll take a good look at these girls right here, their top of their heads, all right, you have what's called a comb and wattles. All right, the comb is that little spike thing sticking off the top of their head. All right, their wattles are the 2 little flappy things under their chin. If those are really dark red, and those chickens are real dark red like that, and if you'll look at mine, they are blood red. All right, that means you've got a healthy chicken right there for the most part. There's some stuff you can't diagnose. I'm not a chicken doctor, but you know, when we were growing up, if you had a chicken that had real pale looking combs and wattles on them, you'd know that that chicken wasn't very healthy and something was wrong with it. Those right there will not lay eggs on you. They're going to hold up egg production. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. So guys, that's some of the things you need to think about whenever you're getting into backyard chickens. Number one, you want to think about the type of chickens you're going to get. And that's going to depend on your climate or basically what you want to do with them. Number two, make sure you've got good housing for them. Make sure when you're building a chicken coop, you build it for, number one, safety from predators, or actually your own animals, your dogs or your cats might try to get a hold of them too. So make sure you think about that. Make sure you make it easy for you also. You want to make it easier for you to access and take care of the stuff you need to take care of. Now, when I talk about that, the worst thing about the whole process is cleaning out that chicken coop. And what I do is I go down to the creek and I sift out river gravel from the creek water and the sand. I take that sand out of the creek and I bring it back up here and drop it into my chicken coop, and it makes a good bed of little fine sand for them, and it's actually good for them. It's actually good for their feet whenever they go to scratching in it. It keeps them, you know, all cleaned up, and it also is good for their crawl. And their crawl down below their throat is where they crush up their food, so they need a little bit of gravel in there so they can get that food crushed up and eat it on down. So you're knocking out a lot of different things by multi-purpose and different stuff like your sand, and like whenever you go into repurposing for, you know, like if you've got something sitting around like a swing set like I did, you repurpose it, it's going to save you a lot of money. You know, y'all know as well as I do, you repurpose stuff all the time if you get the chance. So that's probably the best way to do it. You know, we live out in the woods in the middle of Tennessee. We live out in the county. They don't really care out here if we got a dinosaur in this cage. They don't care what we own. But you need to check with your local government, local laws, as far as in the city ordinances or any different things like that, or in the areas you live in, and make sure it's okay to own backyard chickens. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I wouldn't live where they wouldn't let me have my chickens. That's just where I'm at. So you know, anytime you think about this, there's a lot of different things you got to think about. Investigate it, look deeper into different types of chickens, different types of coops. You can search online, you can find all different types of coop designs. But basically my girls right here, they've got the chicken Hilton going on right here. They don't worry about nothing. So there you go. So folks, I hope you liked the video. I hope it was informational. I hope it helped some of you make a decision on whether or not you want to tackle the whole backyard chicken thing. I absolutely love them. The biggest benefit I get from them is I get my eggs. And I love to eat eggs, like I said. I'll eat eggs about any way you cook them. My biggest expense is you pay about $14 every 2 weeks for, you know, your chicken feed. But you think about it, if you've got 10 chickens, that means you're going to be getting about 10 eggs a day. That's 70 eggs in 7 days. I know some big families that won't eat 70 eggs in 7 days. So you could take your eggs and you could, you know, sell them to your neighbors, $2 a dozen, or $2.50, $3 a dozen, or something like that. Kind of make up some of the cost for the feed, which is not unreasonable for farm fresh eggs. You know, it's just something you need to think about. They're you know, they're probably one of my favorite animals we got out here, and I love them to death. So I hope that kind of helps y'all make a decision on whether you want to get into backyard chickens or not. It is a little bit of work, not a whole lot. And my basic work, as far as the chickens go, is coming out here every afternoon and feeding them. And you got to feed them and water them just like you would a cat or a dog. Make sure you feed them, like I said, every day at the same time. Keep them in a routine. They like to be in a routine. That keeps them happy. If you ever get them out of that routine, it could throw their egg laying off. That's something that will affect that too. So, you know, just be mindful of all of that. And if you like the video, hit the subscribe button for more living country with Jones, because that's about all we do out here is live country. So y'all have a good one, and I'll see you next go around.